Konnichiwa, it's Govinda Singh 1984. I'm going to read a story for you. So, just a little info. It's about Iraq. People find politics boring. Most of this is what I learnt during my psychotic years when I used to hallucinate. But now I'm in a better place. I just wanted to share the knowledge because it's quite interesting, quite educational, and you'll be surprised how much people with mental illness actually know. So here it goes. And the noise in the background is probably my nephew and niece getting told off by their mom and that. Short story titled Marduk. Marduk had just turned 18 years old and was getting ready to go to university. Life hadn't been easy for Marduk and his family as they arrived from war-torn Iraq in 2005 as refugees in London. Marduk was just 7 years old at the time, and like most of the surviving family, he couldn't speak a word of English. Yet as the years went by and going to school, he picked up English quite easily. The next few chapters will most likely be about Marduk's experiences growing up in London, yet I'm going to move on to Marduk's adulthood. Marduk was a quiet young man and did a lot of reading. He would watch various news channels and would visit Hyde Park Speaker's Corner on a regular basis to listen to what members of the public had to say. Iraq was much better and safer when Saddam was in power, could be heard, along with, there was no WMD, America just invaded to steal the oil, and it was an illegal war. Marduk would just silently listen most of the time, but today on this sunny Sunday afternoon, he decided he wanted to speak, so that's why he bought a small step ladder. Marduk started to speak and went on to say, me and my family fled Iraq in 2005 after our lives were turned upside down by the aerial bombardment. And since being in this country, we've heard a lot of rhetoric implying that Iraq was a lot more safer when Saddam was in power. This goes to show the lack of real understanding for Iraqi refugees. Yes, the country was a lot calmer, but in no way was it a lot safer. So who is Saddam? Saddam came to power after supporting the movement to overthrow the Arab Hashemite monarch with the backing of the United Arab Republic. As the years went by and fighting pursued, where finally Saddam rose to power with the backing of the Saudi royal family and the monarchs of the UAE. Saddam also gained recognition from the Republican Party in the United States. Then in 1980 to 1988, Saddam attacked Iran and the Kurdish regional governments with the backing of the Saudi royal family and the US Republican Party in the United States. Saddam basically became the UAE stand-up guy in Iraq. During the unprovoked war by Saddam and his US Republican backers, as well as the UAE, many thousands died in Iran and Kurdistan when Saddam used chemical weapons of mass destruction against the Iranian army and Kurdish regional government. And as we all know, the Saudi royal family, the UAE, and Saddam Hussein, as well as his US Republican backers, failed to gain control of Iranian resources, and Iran gained victory. Now Saddam, obviously upset over the lack of ground troops or literally no military support from his Saudi and UAE backers, turned his arsenal on the southern Arabs and invaded Kuwait. The relationship turned sour between the US Republicans and once Saudi royal family UAE backers. Opposition to Saddam in the south of Iraq was brutally crushed by Saddam loyalists after Saudi and US Republican parties' promises to support southern Iraqis militarily failed. And then the Saudi US Republican Party led sanctions on Iraq resulted in horrible living conditions for the average Iraqi. Not only there being a lack of food, but the revenue Saddam was accumulating via trading with rogues in Asia was simply spent on palaces for him and his family and luxury for his mercenaries. And when Iraqis, whether Sumer, Kurdish, Babylonian or Assyrian, would oppose Saddam's corruption, we would be kidnapped, tortured and go missing. So I'm here to say yes, the UAE-backed US Republican war is illegal. And yes, no WMD were found. But that's not to say that there's not a case to go to war. Because Saddam is wanted dead by the National Democratic Front of Iran for his illegal war during 1980 to 1988. And for his illegal WMD he has already used against the Kurdish and Iranians in the form of mustard gas. So if the West wants to help, those to blame for putting Saddam into power cannot lead the operation to oust Saddam. So the US Republicans and the Saudi royal family, as well as the UAE, cannot be at the negotiating table. Only the US Democrats and the British Labour Party can help us. And the only regional country you have to discuss a military operation with is Iran. Because when Iran is in Iraq, all those who have been intimidated by Saddam to carry out his dirty work can be confident that they can turn their guns on Saddam, knowing that the National Democratic Front of Iran will back them up. So though we disagree with the 2003 Saudi-US Republican invasion, in no way are we disagreeing in support of Saddam Hussein remaining. So when you see on the news of constant bombing in Baghdad, it's clearly Saddam loyalist troublemakers trying to disrupt society, and the rhetoric by MPs like George Galloway fuels the Saddam loyalist insurgency. So please do not listen to that idiot Galloway. Galloway insists Saddam was a great man, yet I'd like to see Galloway say that at an Iranian cemetery where soldiers are buried after resisting Saddam and his backers' illegal war during the 1980s. So I would like to raise awareness and hope for secular socialist Iraq, Jalal Talabani, Kurdish regional government and the National Democratic Front of Iran, and also the Center for Democracy and Human Rights in Saudi Arabia and the Western US Democrats, Bernie Sanders, European Labour Party come together to bring peace to Mesopotamia. Thank you. As Marduk finished speaking, it was only then he realised no one was actually listening. People were just walking past him as he spoke alone on his stepladder. People were more interested in listening to the Respect Party. There were a few Muslims and Christians slagging each other off, and there was a crowd who were having a laugh whilst the man dressed as the devil insisted he was the devil. Marduk rolled the tears from his cheek, folded his ladder, and made his way home. Maybe next time. The end. So basically that's the story. It's basically just trying to make clear that there's a lot of information going this way, that way, but people are trying to behave that in 2003, when the American Republican Party and Tony Blair authorized the aerial bombardment of Iraq, they're acting like the UAE and the Saudi royal family were just sitting there as quiet as a church mouse. They're acting like they had no input on it. They're acting like it was a US foreign policy, it was a US foreign policy, it was British foreign policy. It's like, hang on, are you to tell me that the Saudi royal family and the UAE in 2003, whilst the US Republican Party was getting geared up to air raid Iraq, that they were just sitting there silent and saying nothing? You think they don't have an input on it? So they need to be held to account for what they did. And it doesn't mean if you disagree with the aerial bombardment and you don't agree with the 2003 invasion, it doesn't mean that you're going to jump on Saddam Hussein's bandwagon and say he's anything great, because he's not. You can clearly go to Iran and find millions of people that will give you a slap if you try to praise Saddam Hussein. People who are glad to see the back of him. But it doesn't mean when you say I disagree with the 2003 invasion of Iraq that I want Saddam to stay. It's like, no, if anyone is going to get rid of Saddam Hussein, it's going to be Iran. So the question is, who in Iran? Well, the Ayatollah Khomeini dictatorship is violating human rights of the secular Iranians. So you have to discuss it with the national Iranian Resistance Council in exile, how are you going to go about it? So just be very careful with what you listen to and what some people come up with. They come up with all these theories that 9/11 was an inside job because they wanted to go into Iraq and steal the oil. And I've been sectioned twice in my life, and I've heard a lot of crazy shit, and that's just a lot of bollocks, yeah. So yeah, that's basically it. Please share the story because we need to come together as a society to make Iraq a safer place by speaking out against Saddam loyalists who are intending on making a comeback by bombing public places. So we need to stop that. The only way we can stop that is if we give George Galloway a slap in the face. You get what I'm saying?